Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Q&Play. Before we start, you better leave a like on this one because I dragged myself away from playing Destiny to do this video. So please, give a like to this poor pauper. Alright, first question comes from Daina. Do you have any tips for preventing bad bleed while still feeling connected to your characters? This is a phenomenal question. I could make an entire video about character bleed. Some other people have also made some amazing videos about character bleed. We had the Azrai on the show, and I believe he did a video about character bleed a while back while he was still LARP House, and I'll link it in the cards if you want to check his video out. It's a good one. But that video is on LARP, this is D&D, and while some similar principles apply, I think in D&D, character bleed is less prevalent, though it still can absolutely be a problem. By the way, if you don't know what character bleed is, here we go. Character bleed is essentially emotions from your character affecting you, the human being playing your character. For example, if your character feels horrible fear, like your DM is putting you in a scary situation, you feeling afraid is a form of bleed. Now, is that bad? No, it's not. But that's why Daina here asked about bad bleed. What would bad bleed be? Well, for example, your DM is having an NPC yelling at you, and you feel like the DM is yelling at you, the person. And sometimes that does happen. Sometimes people use their characters as shields to just do whatever they want. It's what my character would do. In this case, often it's what my character would say, which is not really much better in any way, shape, or form, in my mind at least. So yeah, character bleed is a thing, and it's not always bad, but it can absolutely be bad. So how do you prevent it? Well, I think communication is important. If you're in a group of people who care about each other and who like each other, it's hard to feel like your best friend is actually mad at you. You will see it as in character if you have that kind of rapport. However, that takes time to build, a lot of time in some cases, so what I always do is talk to my players about it. If I feel like, oh, maybe that roleplay interaction went a little bit far, I just send them a little DM under the table so that they can tell me if they're doing all right. That sort of reassurance is really, really valuable. I know some people may be really confused with the whole idea of bleed, but just because you don't experience something doesn't mean it never happens. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I don't experience that much character bleed in Dungeons & Dragons. It just doesn't happen that much. However, my experience is not universal. Other people may feel differently during their games. They have different experiences and different lives, and that's good. It's good that we're all different, but that means that we need to adapt our advice to be for different people. If you feel character bleed, there are many different ways to deal with it. I hope that the methods that I've outlined help you. Question from betheguy. Where did the Thorn replica go? Why are you having it be gone? Will we see another Destiny weapon replica now that the new expansion is coming out? That's 3 questions, I'm sorry. The Thorn replica is not gone. The backgrounds rotate between 4 different backgrounds. The purple one, the blue one, which has the Thorn, the green one, and the red one. That one has the skulls. Thorn will be back, I believe, checks schedule, literally this Friday. So don't worry, Thorn is not going anywhere. As for if I'm getting another Destiny weapon replica, look, those things are expensive. And Thorn I got because Thorn, 1, kind of fits into a fantasy setting rather than a sci-fi setting, so I could use it in a D&D background without it looking too out of place. And 2, Thorn is a weapon with a lot of sentimental attachment, and it's a hand cannon, meaning I don't have to break the bank in order to get it. Bad Juju is a weapon I love from Destiny, but I can't really get a replica of it without spending like $500. So yeah, probably not going to be another Destiny replica for the foreseeable future. But hey, Thorn is sticking around, and you'll see it again this Friday. Question from TheBrainSturgeon. Follow-up question to last month. You said you had top 10 jazz musicians rattling around your brain. Would you like to share them with us? So this is going to be difficult. I don't know if I can get to exactly 10, but here we go. So first up, we have Leo Pellegrino, great Barry saxophone player. We have Dave Brubeck, going back to the classics, incredible pianist. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Take 5? That song is absolutely brilliant in every way, shape, and form. One of my favorite tunes of all time. Grace Kelly, the saxophonist, who is somebody who duos a lot with the aforementioned Leo Pellegrino. Incredible alto and soprano saxophonist. She's been learning some other saxophones too. Love her music, love her vibe. Next up, Corey Henry, the incredible keyboard player behind the solo in Lingus. I mean, it's impossible not to think this guy is incredible. If you've heard Snarky Puppy's Lingus from the We Like It Here concert, it is one of the greatest pieces of music ever created, ever. Absolutely love that man and his work. Amazing. In fact, if we're including bands, toss in all of Snarky Puppy as well as Scary Pockets and Lucky Chops, which are a bunch of jazz/funk bands. I wouldn't say they're exactly jazz, they're jazz adjacent, but I still like their music a lot. It still brings me a lot of joy, and that's really all that matters to me. I also am a big fan of Juna Sarita. I hope that's how I pronounce her name. She's a Japanese bass player who is also incredible. Love the way she plays her bass and the way she integrates her stuff into her band's music. She plays with Tokyo Groove Jiyoshi, who I really like. Their cover of What Is Hip is incredible. Also, gotta throw in Luis Cole on the set. I mean, he's also a multi-instrumentalist just in general now. I mean, I guess he always has been. I know him for drumming, but the dude is just so talented at this point. I mean, I can't even remember all the instruments he plays. Speaking of incredible multi-instrumentalists, we'll end it off with Carlos Enin, aka Insane in the Rain Music. You may know this guy from doing video game jazz covers, and I know that that's not exactly the most, like, artsy form of jazz, but damn, I've watched this guy grow his career for just absolutely years now. I really love his music and his style. He plays so many instruments now, and he's being hired by companies to compose music for video games. To see him grow and evolve like this, it's really truly a blessing to see. So, really happy for him and his career. He stopped doing video game jazz covers, which is a shame. I really liked his covers, but, you know, he's moving on to bigger and better things, and I'm happy to see him just keep on going and keep on making awesome music. I know that wasn't 10, but I tried my damnedest, okay? I'm really bad with list questions. I'm really bad at list favorite questions, especially. So, yeah, tried my damnedest. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And if that was intelligible to you, I'm sorry. Question from TD Pod. I have a real hard time turning my GM brain off. Movies, TV shows, and books are harder to watch when you have that little gremlin that picks stories apart. Do you have that? If so, how have you tried to deal with it? Or harness your story gremlin? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I really have that. If what you mean is, do I pick stories apart looking for plot holes all the time or digging really deep into them on initial viewing? Not really. I mean, there are definitely stories where I do that, stories that I'm passionate about, and stories where I have a lot of knowledge. Like just recently, I played Destiny 2 Lightfall, and no spoilers, but I was disappointed by the story in Lightfall. But I don't think it was because my brain was picking apart the story. I think it was just because I was disappointed by the story, and that's it. I don't think it was because I'm a game master that happened. I'm also a big Destiny fan, so maybe that had something to do with it. I just don't really think being game master has affected the way I consume stories. Now, I do take inspiration a lot, and the thing that I need to be careful of is letting the stories that I'm consuming in the moment affect the stories I want to tell as a GM. If I see a really good heist movie, I'm gonna want to do a heist in my D&D campaign, and I really need to rein that back because sometimes a heist is just not going to fit into the game I'm running at the moment. An eldritch horror is not going to fit into the game I'm running at the moment. I need to not fixate so hard on the thing that I just saw so I can put it into my game. Sometimes it's just not that important. Sometimes I need to focus down on the tone and the setting and the story that I'm in the middle of before I do anything else. Like, for example, one time I did that actually pretty well was after I finished God of War Ragnarok. I really wanted to do a northern Nordic mythology-based adventure, but right now my player is in the middle of a swashbuckling journey and that doesn't really fit. Could I make it fit? Yes, but forcing it is not something I want. I would rather wait, and now I have campaign 3 set up in my mind before I've done some incredible amounts of prep. I've harnessed that. I think waiting is a big deal when it comes to my prepping because I get really excited about concepts I see in movies, television, video games, like you said, but it's not because I overly critique them or anything. I'm pretty casual when it comes to my viewing experience, I'm not gonna lie. I just want to watch something and have fun. It doesn't need to be that deep. Sometimes I like it to be that deep, but I just want to have a good time. That's why I'm there. That's why I watch movies, why I play video games, why I watch TV. I want to have fun. I want to be engaged. That's it. But my big problem is after. If I'm engaged, I want to employ that in my own storytelling. And my own storytelling right now is Dungeons and Dragons. And sometimes that's just not going to work out. So sometimes I need to rein back my excitement, so to speak. I don't know if that whole rambling mess helped you out, but I hope you pulled something out of all that. Question from Moody Xander. What is a puzzle, dungeon, or monster you are interested in running but haven't got the chance to do so? All my players, stop watching. Don't watch. I swear to God. Please don't. But yeah, one thing that I've been holding on to in my brain for the longest time are the precursors. The precursors are these machine creatures that are created from the god of order who has gone bad. Basically, it has gone into the void of space and become a horrible eldritch monstrosity, creating this army of extremely dangerous mechanical terrors. Luckily, this corrupted god is trapped in the void, trapped with its horrible creatures, and, well, doesn't have access to the mortal plane. But if someone were to open a portal to let in some of its precursor forces, well, that would be really, really bad. I love the Vex in Destiny. I love the Horizon Zero Dawn robots. I love these mechanical creatures that exist in a fantasy/medieval world. Destiny obviously is sci-fi, but there's a lot of fantasy elements there, and converting some of that energy into D&D is interesting to me. These aren't necessarily sci-fi robots, they still run largely off of magic, but the idea of fighting even just a futuristic adjacent robot in a fantasy setting is really, really cool to me. I want to see how my players would react to that. And there are some really neat maps that Say and Peku have created that I think would fit this particular enemy really, really well. I have a one-shot loosely designed that I've been waiting to run. Maybe I'll do it for a streamed game, who knows? But yeah, there you go. I really want to use these precursor creatures one of these days. There are some flea mortal stat blocks that jump out to me in particular that I think I could use to create these horrible mechanical monstrosities. But yeah, there you go. There are the creatures that I want to use in my campaign. Hopefully in the future. I haven't gotten an opportunity yet. Doesn't really fit the vibe I'm going for with my current campaign, but... Question from Crystal Hydra. What are some good examples of good characters using typically villainous subclasses? Death Cleric, Oathbreaker, Necromancer? I'm pretty sure Caduceus Clay is a grave cleric, using a lot of the energies of the dead to do all of his magic and stuff. And Caduceus Clay from Critical Role is a good dude. Pretty objectively a good dude. Really chill, nice guy. He does make tea out of dead people, but it's because he is a grave tender. And that's the kind of thing that I think is perfect for reframing evil specs. Caduceus Clay is a simple gardener who uses the powers of the graves and the powers of death in a different way. In fact, a lot of the Critical Role characters do this. Ford has eldritch powers from an old god buried beneath the sea, but he uses them for good. He doesn't reframe the powers completely like Caduceus Clay does, but he does use them for a good cause and struggles against his villainous patron. So yeah, there's another good way to do it. You don't need to reframe the power entirely, but instead showcase your character as conflicted. Also bear in mind that depending on your DM, they might be pretty loose with how they interpret the flavor of a spec. To me, a spec or a subclass is just, well, it's mechanical. It's not set in stone. For me, if you want to reframe your artificer to have a cat rather than a cannon, which is what the artificer in my home game does, instead of having an artillery cannon, she has a cat that does all the abilities. It's a robot cat. That sort of reflavoring is great. I love that. And if you want to reflavor a typically evil subclass to be something different, like a death cleric taking advantage of fungal plants, for example, I think that that's perfectly fine as long as your DM is okay with that sort of reskinning. These are just options though. There are plenty of other options to make your character uniquely yours and to play them the way that you feel most comfortable. Final question from Xandy Pena. I really need to know your opinion. Is a digital play system and Unreal Engine really the future of D&D? Would that be inevitable or good in the long run? I have my doubts. I don't think we're gonna switch to an only online system anytime soon, and that's coming from a DM who only plays online these days because my home game group moved away and the people I play with for my streams live in other states. So playing in person is just not very practical for me. However, even as a person who plays exclusively online, I just don't see that being the exclusive way people play the game. I don't see playing in person as a fringe thing that is dying out inevitably. Like, I think that's still going to continue to be a thing. I think some aspects of it will inevitably peter out. Maybe not completely, but at least become less common. Like, it sucks to say, but game stores may not be a common thing forever. I've seen a lot of game stores unfortunately close their doors. I don't think they're going to go extinct. I don't like making extreme statements like that, but it is something that is absolutely possible and something I have seen happening. However, entirely digital play is just not something that I think is going to be the real future of the game. I think it will be developed, I think it will come out, and I think it will have its fans, but that'll just be it. It'll have its fans, it'll have its community, and I think that that's awesome, but I don't think everyone's going to do that, and I don't think it's going to become the most common way to play. Especially since there's so many third-party applications out there that are so easy to adjust and mod to your own specifications. Like, Foundry is just so easy to use for me, and it's extremely cheap. Like, unless this Unreal Play system was really, really easy to mod and really, really cheap, I just don't see it taking my attention away from the stuff I already use. Maybe it'll be really cool, like with all this 3D terrain and stuff, but again, that is really restrictive. It's hard for me to adjust that to my exact specifications, and that's where I think a lot of the big issues lie. Though, at the same time, it doesn't really affect me. If people love the Unreal Engine system of D&D, great, good for them. Does not affect me in any way because D&D is a game that I can own. It's not like a video game. It's not like Destiny. Like, when change comes to Destiny, I can't unchange it. You know, it's a game that I'm playing that's developed by Bungie. So when they make a change to the game that I don't like, there's not really much I can do about that, and I just have to kind of deal with it and keep on playing. But with Dungeons & Dragons, we're in a unique position where we can adjust the game, because you can just house rule in your own games. You can play at a tabletop even if most people aren't doing it. Obviously, other VTTs might shut down, but ideally that doesn't happen. If ideally that doesn't happen, you can continue using whatever VTT you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, Dungeons & Dragons, tabletop role-playing games in general, really are games that can belong to you. You can play them and own them and change them, and nothing can really stop you from doing that. I mean, D&D's been through some freaking rough periods. I mean, I didn't play during 4th edition, but the game survived, even though that edition was widely hated, because people just kept on playing 3.5. They just kept on doing what they were already doing and moved on with their lives. Even if there are aspects of the official part of the game that interest me, it's not something that I'm dying over. It's not like Destiny or Minecraft, games where the devs have a lot of power over what happens with my experience with the game. D&D is an experience that I have a lot of control over, which is why I'm so in love with it, honestly. I like having control over things, at least so I've been told by my therapist. But anyway, let's get back to the actual question. So to answer your question, is it inevitable? I don't think so. Is it good in the long run? I don't think so either. I also don't think it's bad. The worst case scenario is the system, this Unreal Play system, is terrible and clunky and unmoddable and full of microtransactions, and if that's the case, yeah, that sucks. The system is bad. But for me as a dungeon master and somebody who enjoys playing TTRPGs, I'll just play somewhere else. No skin off my back. Alright, that's going to be it for today's episode of Q&Play. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so we're gonna cap this off real quick so I can go cook some salmon. But if you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then you can check out our Tabletop Tavern Tips series, where we go over tips for both DMs and players, old and new. It's linked in the cards, and while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own questions or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment Strands of Fate to reference the game I'm playing in the background and to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Unless it's like, comment, subscribe, I'll see you all next time. Farewell.